figure it's time that I tell another dumb thing I did, and this is possibly the dumbest. And I'll preface this story with, not proud of it, I'm not bragging about it, and trust me, I paid dearly, as I'll explain. This is my DUI story. It's been about 3 years ago now, in 2019. And 2019 was a rough year. Like, it was really rough. Like, my life had fallen apart. Both my grandmothers died in the same year. I had an infant daughter that I didn't get to see. And if I did get to see, it was based on the whims of her mother, which were hot and cold at best, and whenever it suited her. And even when we finally got lawyers and went to court, I did not benefit from a good visitation arrangement. But that's just how things worked. Anyway, so one night, I go out with some friends drinking. And my sister is actually with me. I won't really get into the specifics of how much I drank or what I drank, because it doesn't really matter. And one thing I've learned through the years is a gentleman drinks, a douche counts. So it doesn't matter how much I drank. It ended up being too much. And we're headed home, I don't know, a little after midnight, fairly late. I usually am not out that late. I'm like a grandpa when it comes to stuff like that. Like, I'm in bed at like 10. And as far as I was concerned, I was fine to drive, which is what everyone that's ever gotten a DUI has said, or got caught doing anything. And we're driving along, and we see a roadblock, and a deputy comes up and says, "Hey, you been drinking?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have." It's always a little bit too honest and overshared when I drank, which is everyone has been guilty of at some point or another. But in this case, it would have been better to lie for longer, but I thought I was fine. And then he starts going through the sobriety tests. Didn't have to say the alphabet backwards. I had to stand on one leg, do some goofy walking things, which is hard to do in flip-flops. I'll readily admit he did an eye test. And my sister was with me, and I turned to her and said, "This is not going so well. You may want to call Dad." And they get to talking to me. They give me the field breathalyzer test. And then they try to act like they're my friend, because I'm explaining to them some of the hoops I have to jump through to go see my daughter. And he's shocked that, because I really had to do this, and it was a self-fulfilling prophecy, as it turns out. Now, I was supposed to take a breathalyzer test to go see my daughter because, well, it's not important, but they decided I had beer with my Cheerios, which didn't, but whatever. Basically, she tried to make things as difficult and hurtful as possible. They were confused by this and acted like they were my friends until they're like, "Oh yeah, you blew a .11, so we're taking you to jail." And they put me in handcuffs and put me in the back of the car. And, I wasn't nervous. I handled it remarkably well. I'm pretty good under pressure, so I was just chatting with the deputies. And they actually liked me. They took a liking to me because I was so laid back and wasn't fighting them, or I didn't try to run away, which did cross my mind, but how far would I have gotten, and how poorly would that have gone for me? Probably very. Anyway, they take me to jail, and this part's pretty funny. The guy they book in before me, they searched him, and they search you pretty thoroughly, as I learned. He had hidden a bag of weed and tied it around his scrotum, and he had hidden it well, because it was like a huge bag they were showing us. I was like, wait, he had that much weed hidden? And he was the guy that got booked right before me. And they go through with the motions, and I get put in the holding cell, I guess you call it the drunk tank. And all I can tell you is there's not much room in there to begin with. It's a 12 by 12 room with some raised up benches. But they had, I don't know, there was at least 12 people in there, and then more came in. So there wasn't much room, but if everybody laid down, there was enough room. And the thing I remember most is the smell. I can't even describe how bad it stunk. Middle school locker room, but left out in the sun for 3 days. It just, a lot of the guys in there clearly hadn't bathed in weeks, and it didn't occur to them to, because it was such a powerful BO smell that I have nothing to compare it to other than the middle school locker room, which stunk almost as bad. Anyway, they get in there and everybody's pretty friendly. There's nobody, all those things you hear oh, you're in jail, anybody try to take your stuff? There's no stuff to take. They take every last thing from you when you get there. Everybody's kind of chatting about, just stuff in general. And I called my sister, which they really gouge you. I had to buy a phone card. It was $50, and each call was incredibly expensive, $12 a call. It was so ridiculous. Because I had the money, but a lot of people don't. And they need to make a phone call. What are they supposed to do? Oh, well, tough luck. Should have thought of having money before you went to jail. And I called my sister, and she's like, yeah, we're going to get you out. You got to wait until 5 a.m. to sober up. And she was actually really nice, and all of them were like, oh, she sounds really sweet. He says, yeah, she's been good to me. And we're all talking about what happened. I told him, yeah, I got a DUI. They're like, oh man, you should be fine. You'll be out of here by morning. Because the guy that got caught with the weed, he said, no, it's going to go a lot worse for me. He said, I'm going to be upstairs, which is the county lockup. And one guy said, this is probably the funniest thing I heard while I was in there. He said, man, I don't know when I'm going to get out of here. I said, why is that? He said, because my lawyer's in jail upstairs. So I thought that was pretty good. And another guy came in after me, a young guy. His story was bananas. His mom had gotten pulled over for DUI, and she must have gotten pulled over by much nicer policemen than I did, because I tried to talk my way out of it. I tried, and I'm usually pretty good at that sort of thing. I said, hey, is it okay if I go home? I'm close to home. No, we're taking you to jail. So I blew a .11. I don't know if I mentioned that. But anyway, this guy had gone to get his mother, and they wanted him here immediately. They said if he wasn't there within 30 minutes, they were taking her to jail. Well, he of course got pulled over for speeding, and they caught him with weed, and they took him to jail. But the poor guy was terrified. He was 19, and he wasn't as drunk as I was, because I was still drunk. I was just this is fine. I kind of just took things as they came, which is how you're supposed to do it. I highly recommend that if you're ever in this situation. And eventually they hand me a nap mat, and I try to go to sleep, but it was proven very difficult because some people handled their incarceration well, and others handled it very poorly. Very poorly as in screaming, hitting stuff, making as much noise as possible, and making the already impatient deputies look even less patient, because you could tell they clearly weren't happy working third shift and dealing with these people. And I finally get to sleep, and I wake up. I don't remember what time it was, but I think I tried to call my dad or sister and couldn't get them, but those were two $24 phone calls. That was wonderful. And I don't know what's going on, but the sun's coming up, so other people are getting antsy. One guy in there was like, can I go outside? Like, I'm just really anxious in here, and I don't know what to do. And I wave them over. I'm like, hey, I think my bail's been paid. Can I just get out? And they find out, hey, turns out I wasn't lying. It wasn't like an idiocracy moment where, oh, I was supposed to get out today. Well, you dummy, that's the wrong line. Then I get out, and my dad and sister picked me up, and to my dad's credit, when this happened, he has never said a word. He has never said I was stupid. He just wordlessly said, I got in the car, went to Jack's, and then went and picked up my other car. And I'll get into more of what I had to do after the DUI in another video.